Is he a bull? Is he a bear?
He's just a guy on X.
I am just a guy on X, but I want answers. Mullen Automotive is down to $1.79. It is down almost 10% on the day. That's 19 cents. And it started dipping yesterday after some very good news came out. You know, the PR about Bollinger Motors partnering with Broadway Ford Truck Center. That's good news. You would think that the price should go up. But how could the price go up when an 8K gets released just hours later stating that Mullen owes over $20 million and they have to pay up? And it's going to be in shares, and they got to do it now. Now, I'm not going to read all of what the 8K says, but I'm just going to go over to the reason why the 8K was filed. Because there was a court order for Mullen to pay up, and I'm going to read sections of that because that's a little more important. That actually tells you why this filing came to be. Now, yesterday was the 9th, and this is when this 8K came out. It's also when that PR about Bollinger came out. Mullen knew about this for 3 days because the court order happened on December 6th. But David Mitry will never tell you what you need to know when you need to know it. He'll put out some fluff PR and hide the real news that really will help you make a better decision on whether you want to buy, sell, or hold. Anyways, let's get into it. This is from Stomping Llama, and it says, Mullen, long story short, they defaulted on some of the notes, so they've defaulted on all of them, or on them all. I believe the court order overrides the requirement for registering the shares, some of which was pending, while most of these weren't resellable via Rule 144 yet. And as we read on, you'll start to understand more. Now, number 32 says the convertible note held by JADR and purchased on July 15th matured and was due and owning on November 15th, 2024. The remaining notes held by the plaintiffs will mature beginning on January 25th, 2025 through February 2nd, 2025. Plaintiffs Fallon, Mogul, Friedlander, Bannister, Krieger, Silva, and JADR have made a demand upon defendants for payment of the amounts due and owing under the applicable convertible notes. However, defendant has failed and continued to fail to pay that debt. And they're talking about Mullen. As a result of the default by defendants of its repayment obligations for the notes purchased by plaintiffs that are now past due, all notes are now due and payable for the terms of the SPA. Now, this is not only talking about the ones that were due right now, they're talking about even the ones that were due through January 2025 and February. The parties agreed that the principal, together with accrued interest due as of the date of the filing, is $20,459,826, and interest continues to accrue. The plaintiffs currently hold bona fide claims against the defendant, which defendants acknowledges. In an effort to resolve the bona fide claims held by the plaintiffs, defendant has offered and plaintiffs have agreed to accept shares of the defendant's common stock in lieu of repayment of the amount currently due to each of the plaintiffs under the convertible notes. A settlement agreement and stipulation between the parties is attached in Exhibit W. Defendants have defaulted on the convertible notes purchased by each of the plaintiffs and have therefore breached its obligations under the clear terms of the SPA. All conditions precedent to bringing this actions have occurred, have been performed, and or have been excused or waived. So this is done and clear. Mullen acknowledges the order has been set, and let's read on. 42, it says plaintiffs and defendants entered and executed the SPA on May 14, 2024. It says plaintiffs purchased a series of convertible notes pursuant to the SPA. Plaintiffs fully performed their obligations under the terms of the SPA and applicable convertible notes. Number 45 says defendants was required to make principal and interest payments on each of the convertible notes on or by the date of maturity for each. Defendant has breached the SPA by failing to make payment when due under the terms of the applicable convertible note and thereby defaulting under the terms of the SPA. Now, to give you a better perspective, the outstanding share count right now is 8,000,083. Do you remember when they did the S1 and tried to register another 31 million shares that everybody was saying that, oh my God, that's going to be really bad on the price? Well, it seems like Mullen made a deal with the plaintiffs before they even made sure that they have the shares to give out, because that 31 million shares was not approved yet. The SEC is still looking into it, and I believe that S1 was amended a few times, and it's still not approved, so this is why we're in this situation right now. Let's read on. Number 47 says, as a result of the defendant's initial default of its repayment obligations, all notes are now due and in cross-default, including the convertible notes, which will mature on January 25th, 20 through 27th, February 1st and 2nd, 2025, under the terms of the SPA. As a direct and proximate result of the defendant's breach of its repayment obligations, plaintiffs have suffered damages in an amount to be determined at the time of trial, but in any event, no less than the amount of $20,459,826 plus interest, costs, and attorney fees. But if you think that that's bad, look at what the order says, and it's quite scary. In the highlighted part, it says the Securities Act. This will permit the stock to be issued to plaintiffs without registration and without restrictions on resale. That part right there tells me that they're going past the S1 registration, and that is no longer needed, at least for this amount of shares that they owe, because they have to pay these people the shares. They're due. And the court order says you have to give it to them. No registration needed and no restrictions on sales, meaning there's no maturity date. Through such court approval, plaintiffs may resell those shares into the market without restriction, which is a condition to each of the plaintiffs' willingness to enter into the settlement with Mullen Automotive. Now, if you still think that there's some kind of agreement that Mullen Automotive and these guys will do to not screw over the retail investors, think again. They've just been taken to court because Mullen couldn't pay and they didn't want to wait anymore. They said, we want our shares now. And now they're going to get them. They don't have to go through the S1 registration process. They're going to get them without registration and without restriction. They don't have to wait a certain moment or a certain time in order to be able to sell them. They don't have to wait. And this post right here is from Kendall Payne, and he says, the settlement should draw attention to why the SEC has not approved Mullen's S1 share registration for 2 whole months now. The SEC clearly seems to be taking issue with the public issuance of Mullen shares. Now, this is really scary for Mullen investors. This is not good at all. The SEC sees something wrong with Mullen issuing a bunch of shares. They say, nope, we got to look more into it, into the information that you provided. And that was the only thing that stopped dilution. The SEC, now a court, because Mullen was taken to court for not paying up their debt in shares. The court says, hey, the plaintiffs get the shares. No registration needed, and there's no restrictions on when they can sell them. And in fact, they get all their $20 million plus interest and all of that. So that is why the price is dropping right now. But Mullen would rather have you think that you guys are going to get candy canes and cookies this year. You're not getting any candy canes and cookies. And the PR about Bollinger being a partner with Broadway Ford Truck Center, that is nothing compared to this. Do you understand? Mullen can't produce enough shares to pay off their debt. That means that the price will keep going down. And pretty soon, David's going to have to do another reverse stock split. That, or go OTC, or file for bankruptcy. Remember the last video I did about everybody getting laid off? This is why they're getting laid off. Now, I'm only assuming, but you're getting more from assuming than actual answers from David. Because every time there is some news like this, they try to put out some PR, fluff PR, to make you think that everything is just fine. You guys are going to get candy canes and cookies this year. We're counting down the days till candy canes and cookies. And 2 days ago, when he posted this, he already knew that the court was ordering them to pay up. He already knew that. And then Monday comes, and he puts out the fluff PR about Bollinger. And then just later, the 8K comes out with the real news that you should be getting. Not this bull crap about candy canes and cookies and Bollinger making a deal with Ford Truck Company where it's not going to take them anywhere. They cannot come up with enough shares to pay their debt and to stay afloat. This PR does not matter at all. And if I got any of this wrong that I'm talking about, which I think is pretty damn right, but if I got it wrong, just remember, you're getting a lot more news from me and from anybody else on there, Stomping Llama, Kendall Payne, Michelle, Fud Daddy, and all these other guys. You're getting a lot more news that you should be getting from them that you're getting from Mullen Automotive, the company, and David Mitry. They're keeping you in the dark because they know that if they tell you, you're going to say, I'm out.